It's a madhouse out there. People are tripping over themselves to get into houses to look at them. They're writing offers left, right, and center. Should you wait? Don't wait. Buy now. I'm Justin Miller with the Chong Miller Group, and this is the May 2021 real estate market update for the Las Vegas Valley, where we look at April's numbers for residential single-family resale homes here in the Las Vegas Valley. So this month, what I want to do is I'm actually going to film two videos to break these down so they're not quite as long. The first video, this one that you're watching right now, is the market statistics. The second video, I'm going to go into some of the reasons for why the statistics look like they do and what's driving them, such that they'll continue to look as they do into the months in the future. So before I get started with the market statistics, let me go ahead and mention a couple things. So first is the newsletter. Last month we had the inaugural issue of the newsletter go out, and we intend to have those go out every month along about the 15th. If you have not gotten one of our newsletters and you would like to, please email us at info@chongmillergroup.com or email rebecca@chongmillergroup.com to make sure you get onto our mailing list, and we'll add you to that and you'll get those every month. The second thing I just want to mention is the marketplace that we exist in right now is actually rather divergent from what most people are understanding. And it's manifesting itself in ways that in some sense are not comporting with what people's expectations are. And I want to go into a little bit about why that is. And so, as I mentioned at the very top of this video, what I'm going to do is, instead of doing another 28-minute long video, is I'm going to break this into two things, and we'll give insights into why the market's behaving the way that it does in the second video, where this particular one is about the way the market actually is behaving, as opposed to why it's behaving this way, at least largely. All right, so let's dive right into the numbers. April 2021 was a very interesting and very hot month in the residential resale real estate market here in the Las Vegas Valley. The first piece of information is pricing. So pricing, the median sales price at the end of April of 2021 was $370,500. Now that's up 2.9% from the $360,000 at the end of March 2021. It's actually up $30,500 since the beginning of 2021. It's up 21.4% from a year ago, from April of 2020. Now, I want to comment to put these numbers a little bit in perspective. Remember last year in March, the economy started locking down because of governmental orders associated with the pandemic and staying safe. But that meant that there was a significant drop in home sales last year that really started manifesting itself in April. And then also in May, we had very weak numbers. Well, pricing last year was generally pretty stable, but we did have a small downturn last year at this particular time. And so what we're comparing to on that year over year is actually a weak number for pricing. So that 21.4% increase, kind of take that with a grain of salt. On the other hand, we're up 2.9% this month. We were up 2.9% last month. We're up about the same the month prior. We're actually up 8.2% in the 5 months to date for the year. So what that suggests is that we're running at about 16 to 30% price appreciation across the year if we continue with these trends. These trends are likely to continue. In the other video, we'll talk specifically about why, but I think they'll moderate a little bit. So I don't think we're going to end up 30% year on year. Will we end up 16%? We could. 16 to 20, we're probably going to be a little bit stronger than I'd initially anticipated this year in terms of pricing, but clearly very strong so far this year. Q1 and the first month of Q2, very, very strong price appreciation. We see that also in the price per foot numbers. We were at $199 per foot in April of 2021. Last month, I really explained what that per foot number means, so I'm not going to go into that in depth right now, but that's up from $195 last month. That's up 2.1%. That's up 15.7% year over year from April 2020, $172 per month. Now it's actually up 8% over the previous 5 months. That's actually slightly less than the median sales price, which was up 5.2%. So that divergence, while it's not great, is telling us something about the mix of properties that are actually being sold. More entry-level homes, more basic homes, more homes that are older are going to actually have less price per foot than bigger multi-million-dollar homes, things like that. So that that median price is going up more quickly than the median price per foot is actually suggesting to us that the lower half of the market price appreciation is very strong, maybe slightly stronger than appreciation at the top half of the market. So we still have this median point, that's the median sale price, 370, 500. But it seems to be right now being pushed up by the lower half of the market as opposed to being pulled up by the upper half of the market. All right, what about homes sold? So the all-important number, things are transacting, things are moving. Last month, April 2021, we saw here in the Valley 3,420 completed sales transactions. That's down slightly, 4.6%, from March 2021 when we had 3,584. Now remember, the March number is the highest number of monthly sales we've ever experienced in the Las Vegas Valley. In fact, even though we're down 4.6% from that for April, there's only 5 months, including March, that in the whole history of the Valley where we've had higher home sales than April of this year. So home sales are still very, very strong. Now we're up a whopping 85%, 84.9% from last year. Again, last year, remember, we had very depressed home sales in April, even more so in May. So the year-on-year comparisons for a few months are going to be really misleading, right? But so we've clearly recovered in terms of home sales from what was happening at this time last year, right? And we're actually very strong. All right, what about homes for sale? Now, this number is important because remember, you can't sell a home if it's not for sale in practical import. There might be some ways to do it, but realistically in the statistics, they're not going to show. So a home has to be for sale to be able to be sold. 2,628 homes for sale during the course, so median sort of number, during the course of the month of April of 2021. That's down 9.8% from the 2,915 that were for sale across the month of March. It's down 64% year over year. Again, we've got that weird comparison to last year from the 7,392 last year. Now, the number of homes for sale right now, 26, well, right now meaning basically at the end of April, is the lowest ever recorded in the digital MLS here in the Las Vegas Valley. So I've been saying that for a couple months, and that number keeps going lower. And so we continue to say that. We're running at about 1/3 the normal pace on inventory. We should be something around 6,000 to 7,000 right now, and we're at 2,600. If we multiplied 2,600, that'd be 7,800 homes for sale right now. That would be much more typical. So we're running at about 1/3 of normal inventory sitting in the market, houses ready to be sold. On May 6th, as I was collecting the data for this, I'm recording it on May 7th, as I was collecting the data for this, there were 1,948 homes for sale on that particular day, single family resale residences in the Las Vegas MLS data area. That's actually up 4% from April 6th. So last month when I was recording the video and I had taken that one-day snapshot. So as I had indicated at that time, we're actually seeing inventory stabilize and maybe creep up slightly. The mix of inventory is a little bit interesting because there's some stuff coming into the market that reasonably nobody had ever thought would ever sell, and it's coming into the market and it's actually sitting there for a while because it may not sell. We all have seen houses like that. It's like, who thought somebody would buy that one? So there's a few of those that are coming in, and that might be inflating the inventory numbers just slightly. But we are definitely seeing a stabilization in inventory. Now, that's sort of the snapshot for April of 2021. There's a couple forward-looking statistics that I've been covering and I want to go into as well. One is pending home sales. Pending home sales, you'll remember, are contracts that have been written but have not yet closed. So buyer says to seller, I want to buy your house. And seller says, hey, that's great. I want to sell you my house. And so they sign a contract, the residential purchase agreement. That contract is a pending sale until the sale has concluded, escrow closes, and ownership changes from seller to buyer. They now become former owner and new owner. That number in April, at the end of April, 3,594 pending sales. Now that number is actually up from the astoundingly high number last month. It's up from 3,412 by 5.3%. Now remember, we only have 26, 28 homes sitting there ready to take offers. So these are clearly houses that have offers on them. They're not available for new offers right now. But so we've got 2,600 approximately sitting there waiting to be sold, and we've got 3,600 approximately in contract, right? A vast proportion of the market space is sitting there in contract. That number of pending sales, again, year-over-year comparison is going to look really weird, but that number is up 128% from April of last year, right? There were lots of people who decided not to buy at that time, and so pending contracts were considerably lower in April. They started trending down in March last year, they were way down in April, and they were way down in May before starting to recover in June. Okay, now there's a statistic that I've only quoted once before, and it's because I've only been able to capture this statistic in the past via secondhand information. And so I couldn't vouch for the quality of the data. I've now found the source to be able to collect this information on an ongoing basis. It's important and high quality information, and I want to talk about it. So we've got all of these pending sales, but not all pending sales, as I've alluded to in the past several videos, not all pending sales actually close. Some number of them drop out, and they may drop out because of appraisal problems. The house appraises lower than the contract value. The buyer says to the seller, hey, bring down your price. and I'll still buy it from you. The seller says, no, you're crazy. I'm not lowering my price. It's just about appraisal. And so the buyer says, well, then I'm walking, or I can't afford to come up with the extra cash, so I have to drop out. So pending contracts may fail because of appraisals. Sometimes they fail on inspection concerns. Buyer says, you need to make these repairs. Seller says, I'm not making any repairs. You take the house the way it is, or, I'm not going to sell it to you. And buyer says, so long, not going to buy it from you, right? So that contract falls out. There is another reason why contracts are falling out, and that is that some agents are walking their clients into problematic contracts and or I don't want to say fake contracts, but sometimes into situations where the buyer is just trying to get their foot in the door and therefore might sign paperwork prior to actually being ready to knowledgeably make a commitment on a particular property. And so then the property just drops back out. It's a very unfortunate thing, but it happens. Well, what do these back on market numbers look like? In April of 2021, there were 1,151 properties that came back on market. So that number is actually down 14.6% from what came back on the market in March. There's some fluctuation in the data, but normal back on market, so if we go back a year and a half, we go back 2 years, normal back on market is around 900. There's always contracts that fall through. Sometimes it's lenders say, we like you, but not enough. We're not going to lend you the money, even though we told you we were, or what have you. There are always reasons why contracts fall through. Somebody gets a transfer to another location and they decide they can't buy the property. But that number is usually considerably smaller. That number right now is elevated by more than 25%. So we've got 1151 came back on the market last month. We've got 3,600, almost 3,594 pending contracts. So that means almost a third of contracts that have been signed that became pending home sales are coming back into the market. So a significant level of churn may exist on individual properties, and there could be, if you will, hidden inventory because something's gone into contract, looks not available, and it becomes available again. So it's a really interesting statistic, and I will be tracking that going forward in time because, again, I've secured the location from which that statistic is available, and it is insightful as it relates to how the market will unfold, as well as kind of some of the internal dynamics about what's going on. So one other statistic we've been covering a lot recently is new listings. And this statistic is forward-looking in the sense that it's new stuff coming into the market that will be available for sale. But this statistic also highlights a really key insight that most people are missing in the marketplace right now. 3,775 new listings came into the database, into the multiple listing service last month, April 2021. That number is up 2.3% from the 3,689 that came into the market last year. Remember, there's seasonal issues. We always expect new listings are going to increase in March relative to February and April relative to March. And then again in May, we'll see an increase in new listings. This is seasonally appropriate. So sellers are listing their properties. This number is up a pretty stunning 55.5% from last year when sellers were starting to hold back because some people were nervous about others walking into their house. Some people were nervous about what was going to go on in the marketplace. And so there was a decrease in number of new listings last year. Again, kind of a statistical anomaly based on what was going on, very unusual last year. So Inventory is coming into the market with new listings. Inventory is being recycled with back on market. But inventory is also being chewed up with pending home sales and, of course, closed. All this suggests that you really want to arm yourself with the best information that you can possibly and with the best advocate that you can possibly when you go into the marketplace. At the Chong Miller Group, we understand what's going on in the market. We're very analytical. We look at the data to discern what the trends are. We look at the data to discern what appropriate pricing is. We look at the data to discern how one's house should be marketed or one's property should be marketed. So if you're a buyer, please give us a call, talk to us. We can definitely help you. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit hard. Sometimes it's going to be hard for a buyer to get pre-qualified. But we can introduce you to some banks. Sometimes it's going to be hard for a buyer to come up with the down payment that might be necessary to act in this marketplace. Sometimes it may be hard for a buyer to sort of wrap their head around what's going on in the marketplace. Well, we can't help you come up with more money for your down payment, but we certainly can help explain to you what's going on and how you need to react to it and how to best position yourself to make offers and have your offers be successful. If you're a seller, in this marketplace, there are people who believe you just put a sign up and you're going to be sold. And there's some truth in that. You put a sign in the yard, somebody's going to come by, maybe several people will come by, and they may make you offers. But if you don't understand what you're doing, the offers you're getting are less than what your property is actually worth. Or maybe you're asking too much for your property and you don't get offers. There are still properties sitting on the market with large days on market. So we understand how best to position a property. We understand how to price a property based on the position in the market that you, the seller, and we negotiate that makes most sense to you. Reach out to us, talk to us. We'll gladly help you buy or sell a home or do both. Do remember, if you're selling, you're buying, you're selling in the same market that you're buying in, prices are going up. We have ways to help you get from one house to another. There are all sorts of rumors out there about how all these Californians are flooding the market with all of this cash and they're outcompeting everyone. We're actually not seeing that. There are, of course, Californians in the marketplace. There always are in Las Vegas. It's a feature of the Las Vegas economy, is people coming from California. There are approximately 27% of purchase contracts right now being written for all cash, but that means that 73% of contracts are not being written all cash. The all cash offers are not coming predominantly from California. And we actually see different things with buyers from California coming into the marketplace. It's kind of interesting. There's sort of two categories of California buyers. There are the uneducated California buyers and there are the educated California buyers. And the educated California buyers tend to be making very appropriately priced offers. And getting into contract or not getting into contract the same way that people who are here in the Las Vegas economy all of the time are. Of the category of not really well-informed California buyers, they divide into a large proportion who think Las Vegas is on fire sale because they read something in 2008 prices had collapsed. And then there are the ones who are coming with lots of surplus cash and they just buy something. But that's actually a really small proportion of California buyers. So the truth is, we've got lots of buyers here and coming from other places because people want to live in Las Vegas. And we can help buyers regardless of where you're from. And we can help sellers make sure that you're getting the best deal with a buyer. So please reach out to us at the Chong Miller Group. We'd be happy to sit down and talk with you. We'd be happy to help you with your real estate adventures. I am Justin Miller. You can reach us at the phone number or email address on the screen. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please also watch the follow-on video, which should be linked here on the sort of what's driving the market conditions right now. Thanks. I look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Bye-bye.